Here's everything you need to know to get started with Pokemon Champions. Starting with, what is Pokemon Champions? Pokemon Champions is a new Pokemon game centered around battling, and will be the home of competitive play moving forward. It lowers the barrier to entry of competitive play by a massive amount, with the intent of bringing battling to even more people. There's currently a Switch and Switch 2 version out right now, and a mobile version has been announced for later this year. The main currency in this game is something called VP. You cannot obtain VP via microtransactions, but you get plenty of VP just for playing the game, so this isn't a huge issue. If you're not familiar, by the way, hello, my name is Wolf. I am a competitive Pokemon player and have been since 2011, and I've been making videos here on YouTube about competitive play for over a decade at this point, with the goal of bringing more people into the game. I've entered tournaments for many years and have even won the Pokemon World Championships. I'm posting a new video every single day until April ends to celebrate Pokemon Champions release, so if you like that, you should subscribe, or at least come back tomorrow, because there'll be another video. Anyway, let's talk about the details of Pokemon Champions, starting with recruitment. Recruitment is the new terminology used for how you get Pokemon in this game, since you're not going out and catching them in Pokeballs like you would in a normal Pokemon game. In Pokemon Champions, there are two ways you can get Pokemon. You can either recruit them from a pre-selected pool of 10 Pokemon that refreshes every day, or you can transfer them in from Pokemon Home. Every 22 hours, you'll be able to refresh the pool of Pokemon offered to you via the recruitment feature. The pool contains 10 different Pokemon with variable stats, moves, and abilities. These Pokemon will always have 2 of their stats fully trained and the remaining 2 points put into another stat, but the way that these Pokemon are trained is not always optimal. If you don't want to wait the full 22 hours to recruit a new Pokemon, well, you have some options. You can use Quick Coupons, which is a currency specifically for this reason, to speed up the process. 1 Quick Coupon reduces the time until refresh by 1 hour. You can also pay VP to do this immediately. It costs 100 VP per Quick Coupon, so 2200 VP for a full reset. When you go to recruit a Pokemon, you have 2 options. The first is something called a trial recruitment. This is free and doesn't cost any VP. Trial recruitment will last for 7 days, and the Pokemon cannot be retrained or have their moves changed during this time. Pokemon can be upgraded to permanent recruits whenever you want during this period, and that's the other option that you have, which is to permanently recruit a Pokemon. This costs 2500 VP or 1 teammate ticket. This allows you to keep the Pokemon forever, and you can retrain it however you wish. Retraining comes with an associated cost, which we'll talk about in a second. You are allowed to recruit multiple instances of the same Pokemon species if you would like. This can be useful for having several teams, or if you want to use both the Mega version of a Pokemon and the non-Mega version of a Pokemon, who may prefer different sets. One tip that I have for you when it comes to permanent recruitment is to think about how often you intend to use the Pokemon that you're recruiting, as well as to think about how easy it is for you to get the Pokemon if you decide to pass on it right now. For example, if you don't have Scarlet or Violet and Earthworm were offered, maybe you would consider taking it. Whereas if you do have Scarlet and Violet, maybe you wouldn't use a permanent recruitment for that because you could just go out and catch an Earthworm and Scarlet and transfer it in. We'll talk about that in a second, I'm getting ahead of myself. Pokemon that you find in recruitment can be shiny. There will be a special animation in the lineup if a Pokemon is shiny or has a mark, so you'll be able to tell. Pokemon recruited or otherwise obtained through gifts in Pokemon Champions cannot be transferred to Pokemon Home. This is only true of Pokemon that you obtain through Pokemon Champions, not for Pokemon that you bring in and then want to take out again. Okay, speaking of bringing Pokemon in and taking them out, let's talk about Pokemon Home. You are able to bring Pokemon from Pokemon Home into Pokemon Champion, and in my opinion, this is the best way of getting Pokemon into this game. Transferring a Pokemon in doesn't cost any VP, and stats, moves, and abilities will transfer over. If you want to do this, it's actually relatively straightforward. First, you want to select Pokemon Champions in the Pokemon Home app. Pokemon transferred in only visit from home. They will actually remain in Pokemon Home even when they are present in Pokemon Champions, but they can't be altered or moved in Pokemon Home while they are visiting Champions. Pokemon keep their previous training when they're transferred to Champions, but they can be altered in Champions without affecting the Pokemon at home. There is no cooldown or cost to importing Pokemon from Pokemon Home, but they do take up a box space. If you don't want to spend any real-life dollars, you will only have 30 box spaces, so you need to be intentional about how you use these. If you get the starter pack, this 30 limit upgrades to 80, and if you get the membership, it goes to 1,000. These do not scale linearly. Like I said, transferring a Pokemon from Pokemon Home is probably the best and quickest way to get a Pokemon easily, especially because it doesn't cost any VP. So if you've been playing the other games, you already have a leg up when it comes to Champions. Just like with recruitment, you can have multiple of the same species of Pokemon transferred in from Pokemon Home. So you could have a fast Incineroar and a slow Incineroar and even a medium Incineroar. In Pokemon Champions, you can train Pokemon however you want using either VP or a training ticket. Raising a Pokemon stat point costs 5 VP per point for a total of 330 VP to fully train a Pokemon. Changing a Pokemon's nature costs 500 VP. Changing its ability also costs 500 VP, and changing a move costs 250 VP. To change all 4 moves, that's 1000 VP. Training in Pokemon Champions appears to be somewhat opposite to how it has been in previous games, where training in Pokemon stats was the most tedious aspect and changing the moves was often the easiest, whereas in Pokemon Champions, changing a move is actually the most costly. This is why Pokemon Home can be so big, because you can bring Pokemon in that already have the right ability and moves that you caught in other games that were relatively easy to get. You get 500 VP and 24 quick coupons daily as long as you log in, recruit a Pokemon, and do one ranked battle, regardless of whether you win or lose. There's also weekly missions which award lots of VP and quick coupons. Various objectives including winning ranked battles, using moves of certain types, using super effective moves, landing critical hits, and more are all potential mission objectives. Some missions, for example type-based ones, can be re-rolled for free. So if you don't have any grass-type Pokemon, you have a grass-type mission, you may be able to just get rid of that and get something else instead. Starter missions award quick coupons and VP. These are basic tasks like reaching Great Ball tier, changing your outfit, or even just winning a casual battle. Membership gives you exclusive missions that award teammate tickets or training tickets. Replica teams. This is different than it's been in past games. In the past, replica teams were a rental team, and the way it worked is if you shared a rental team online, anybody who entered the code would be able to use that team in battle. Replica teams are unfortunately different and not necessarily in a positive way. Replica teams require you to train the Pokemon to match the team. It requires you to have all 6 Pokemon and the items before you can train the Pokemon to match. It is a convenient way to get a team quickly, but it does still consume resources, unlike rental teams in previous games. Training for all 6 of the Pokemon will happen at one time with one button press. You get 3 battle team slots without membership or 18 with it. That's 18 total, not 18 new. There's 4 different types of battles. The one that'll be most popular is ranked. The ranked ladder lets you obtain VP after matches. You will match against players with a similar ranking on the ladder. You rank up from Pokeball tier all the way to Champion tier. This is a new tier that's after Master Ball. How much VP you earn depends on whether you win or lose. It also depends on some other factors such as what tier you are in. Ranked battles are the default and encouraged way to play Pokemon Champions. The tiers are the beginner tier, which is the tutorial tier, then Pokeball, Great Ball, Ultra Ball, Master Ball, and finally Champion tier. Each tier has 4 stages, starting at 4 and ending at 1. So you go from Pokeball 4 to Pokeball 3 to 2 to 1, and then you go to Great Ball 4, so on and so forth. The next battling style is casual battles. These are functionally identical to ranked battles, just with no VP rewards and also no ranked ladder. They are a good way to play if you are worried about losing ranking points or if you just want to test an idea out on the ladder. The third form of battles is private battles. In these, you select a preferred format and you battle against your friends. It's worth noting that even in private battles, the 6v6 single game mode is not currently available. The fourth battle mode is online competitions. These are online ladder style competitions where everybody starts out at the same rank and then you see who can get the highest on the ladder within a set time period. If you know what the grand challenges or global challenges are from Scarlet and Violet, that's where these will be. All forms of battle can be either single or double battles. Double battles are the official competitive format and the format that I personally specialize in. Single battles are the 3v3 format instead, so you bring 6 Pokemon to a battle and pick 3. There's currently no way to play 6v6 single battles in Pokemon Champions. All items in the in-game shop are purchased with VP. There are no microtransactions. If you're interested in playing competitively, the majority of things you'll be purchasing from the shop are the held items, including the Mega Stones. The selection of items that are in the game at launch is actually very small. We have reason to believe that this will be expanded over time, though how quickly it's difficult to say. In the meantime, you'll want to stock up on staple items though. Berries cost 400 VP, held items are variable as of launch, but typically range between 700 and 1000 VP. Megastones are 2000 VP each. Clothing items, cosmetics, throwing styles, and victory poses are all variable. And the battle music is 5000 VP, and features music from all previous mainline games. Currently, there are 3 main packages offered to players who want to spend money. The starter pack costs $6.99 and gives you 50 training tickets, 30 teammate tickets, and gives you the music from the trainer battle from Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. I think if you want to spend money, this is a pretty good deal. It's a one-time purchase, it's $7 only. The 50 extra box spaces are nice, and the 50 training tickets can save you a bunch of time, especially if you don't have a previous Pokemon game to transfer in. The next option is the Battle Pass, which costs $9.99 each season. This is the premium version of the standard Battle Pass. You earn SP from these, which are season points, for doing ranked battles and missions. The Battle Pass resets each season with new rewards. They award Mega Stones, teammate tickets, training tickets, quick coupons, Pokemon, and profile cosmetics. It's difficult for me to judge right now whether the Battle Pass is worth it in my opinion. I think it probably depends on your situation. For example, I have many of the previous Pokemon games, so the Pokemon offered through the Battle Pass is not really an especially appealing factor for me, but if you haven't played those games and you don't have access to those Pokemon, maybe it's more worthwhile for you. I'd recommend looking at what the potential rewards are and keeping in mind that you only get the higher tiers if you actually play a lot and get up to that. The third form of monetization is membership. This costs $4.99 per month or $49.99 per year. Membership allows you to store 1,000 more Pokemon in your box. It allows you to have 15 battle teams usable at one time. It unlocks membership exclusive missions and membership exclusive battle songs. This is the priciest option, so I don't really feel comfortable telling you whether or not it's worth it because it really depends. I will be getting membership, but also I'm a Pokemon YouTuber, so my circumstances are likely different than you who is watching this. General advice, make smart financial decisions, don't spend money you don't have, you know the drill. The current rule set is called Regulation M-A, and it runs until June 16th, which is after the North American International Championships, which is the final tournament before this season's World Championships. It has a specific list of Pokemon that are allowed, and I will say it's a very unique format for a number of reasons, but in part because the item pool, at least unless they add more in, is so small. We're missing many of the classic items, such as the Assault Vest and the Choice Band and the Life Orb, and the Flame Orb, and many other classic important items. This is pretty unprecedented. We've never had a Pokemon game without access to all of our held items. The following regulation is called Regulation M-B, and we don't know much about this except that it starts after Regulation M-A. This year's World Championships will be played on Regulation M-B. Now that you know how to get started with Pokemon Champions, you may be thinking, okay, how do I win? Hello, I'd like to win a game, hello. Well, you're in luck, because the current plan is to post an introduction to competitive Pokemon, covering many of the basic concepts, on April 11th, which is this Saturday as of the time I'm posting this. It may be in the past depending on when you are watching this. So if you want to learn more about competitive Pokemon and how to get started, keep your eyes out for that. If you want more content right now, you can check out patreon.com/WolfeyVGC, where I've been posting a lot of high-level guides to help players get better at the game. But again, the free introduction will be posted on Saturday, so feel free to wait and see. Okay, that's it from me. See you tomorrow for more Month of Champions. Bye-bye.